Welcome to Simply Safe Dividends. In this video, we're going to walk through some of our most popular features that can help you create a stronger dividend portfolio. You can type in any dividend paying stock in the search form at the header of the page. Enter the ticker and press the Enter key or select the name from the drop-down list. You'll see all sorts of dividend and fundamental data pull up for that company, in this case, Coca-Cola. And before we get into more of the features on this page, it's really important to understand these three gray boxes at the top: safety, growth, and yield. These three metrics are unique to Simply Safe Dividends, and we calculate these fields looking at over 10 years worth of data about a company's balance sheet, profitability, dividend payout ratios, sales growth, earnings growth, and more to assess the business's dividend as it relates to the safety of that dividend payment and the growth potential of the dividend. The way scores work are they are out of 100 total points. Scores of 50 are average, 75 or higher are considered very good, 25 or lower are generally weak. With Coca-Cola, we can read its scores this way. The dividend safety score is 99, a really good score, which means Coke's current dividend payment is extremely safe. The dividend's growth score is 57. In other words, Coke's dividend growth potential is about average compared to the other dividend stocks in our database. The yield score simply ranks a stock's current dividend yield against all other dividend yields in the market. So a score of 63 in Coke's case means that Coke's dividend yield is higher than 63% of all other dividend yield stocks in the market. You'll see these scores show up across the site in our stock screener, our portfolios, our idea list, so it's important to use them to your advantage to quickly understand the main characteristics of a dividend, its safety and its growth potential. With that said, you can use the stock analyzer tool, which we're using to view Coca-Cola, to learn all about a company's dividend and see its annual fundamentals to better gauge the quality of the business. Regarding dividend information, you'll see the current yield, the annual amount paid out as a dividend, the earnings payout ratio, and the free cash flow payout ratio over the trailing 4 quarters, the next ex-dividend date, when the dividend actually gets paid, the frequency at which the dividend is paid, how many years in a row the company has raised its dividend, and historical dividend growth rates over the last 1, 3, 5, and 10-year periods. You can also visually see dividends paid over the last 25 years by calendar year. Beyond dividend information, this tool will show you how a stock has performed over time compared to the market, so you can better understand if a company has created shareholder value or not. You can also look at the company's key fundamentals, such as sales growth and earnings growth, earnings per share, and free cash flow per share, to gauge trends if the company is growing these values, shrinking, or staying about the same. That all matters for future dividend growth. Same thing with profitability metrics. Return on equity, return on invested capital can tell you more about the quality of a company and how stable the business has been over time. Debt metrics are helpful to understand how levered up a company's balance sheet is. And we can also see if management has been buying back shares over time or issuing shares. Quarterly fundamentals show us many of those same readings, but over the last 8 quarters, to make sure nothing has drastically changed with the business. And finally, you can see a quick snapshot of some of the important pieces of the balance sheet, including cash on hand, total book debt, if the company is generating free cash flow to help cover those debt obligations, and more. This is our stock analyzer tool. It's probably the most popular tool with investors. And again, you can access it up in the top of the site, entering in any ticker symbol, pressing enter, and learning more about that company's dividend and fundamentals. Now, to find stocks to run through that stock analyzer, our stock screener is very popular. You'll see that we have over 40 different metrics that you can screen on to find dividend stocks that are right for you. Let's do an example. Suppose you are looking for safe, predictable current income. You're very risk averse. You've been retired for quite some time and you're just looking to preserve your nest egg and get more income from it. Let's start by entering in a minimum dividend yield of 4%. Now, as I enter in metrics, you'll notice in the results table below, it's automatically filtering as I type. There's no button to push. And you'll see that already it's filtered down to 906 stocks that have at least a 4% dividend yield out of more than 2,800 in the database. Back to the example. So we're looking for a minimum dividend yield of 4%, and we're going to look for a minimum dividend safety score of at least 80. Recall that the safety score is our own metric. It looks at a bunch of different fundamental and dividend data points for a company to assess how safe the current dividend payment is, with scores of 75 or higher being very good. So we have a minimum safety score of 80, a minimum dividend yield of at least 4%, and let's also say we want to find a company that's been growing its dividend for at least 10 straight years. Let's go back down to the results table and see what's left. So with those criteria, we see only 4 stocks meet those metrics that we entered. Let's click on one. We'll pick Verizon in this case. Clicking on the ticker will open up that stock in our stock analyzer. So you can quickly see ideas that showed up in the screener to learn more about their dividend and business trends. Really helpful. In addition to the screener, sometimes investors just want to see our own highest rated stocks by safety, growth, yield. And our top 20 list is very popular as a way to find companies that have screened well in our system. This portfolio was really meant to perform with the highest level of total return going forward. You can see it's a blend of dividend growth stocks and companies like a Verizon that provide more current income. Again, you can click on any of these ticker symbols to open up the stock analyzer tool to learn more about these businesses and determine if they might be appropriate for your portfolio as well. Beyond the top 20 list, we also maintain 4 unique portfolios for different types of dividend investors. We have one for conservative retirees, which is going to consist of those dividend stocks that have higher dividend yields, but also very good dividend safety scores. We have a portfolio that are more for long-term focused dividend growth investors. So these companies might not have the highest yield today, but they have really nice dividend growth scores, meaning they can continue raising their dividend for a long time going forward. Let's take a look at the long-term dividend growth portfolio as an example. So in this portfolio, you'll see 25 companies on the list. And not surprising, most of them have growth scores in excess of 80. Beyond our portfolios and our screener, investors also like to use our idea lists. You'll see that we currently have 10 idea lists with different types of dividend stocks in each list. For example, in this idea list, you can see the dividend stocks that Warren Buffett currently holds in his portfolio. You could also look at stocks that have raised their dividend for at least 20 years in a row. You'd see a list of REITs, a list of dividend stocks that pay their dividend on a monthly basis, high yield dividend stocks, high growth dividend stocks that are growing their dividend at a quick rate, rising small caps. These are companies with smaller market caps that have high dividend growth scores that could become much larger businesses one day with a long runway to increase their dividend. So plenty of ways to find ideas, really easy to analyze a stock once it does show up in a list or a portfolio or the screener just by clicking on the ticker and opening it up in the Stock Analyzer tool to see all of its key information. Hopefully that gives you a good starting point and some ideas on how you can use Simply Safe Dividends to boost your own portfolio. And thanks again for joining our team.